Fyre Festival was a fraudulent luxury music festival founded by Billy McFarland, CEO of Fyre Media Inc., and rapper Ja Rule. It was created with the intent of promoting the company's Fyre app for booking music talent. The festival was scheduled to take place on April 28–30 and May 5–7, 2017, on the Bahamian island of Great Exuma. The event was promoted on Instagram by social media influencers including Kendall Jenner, Bella Hadid, Hailey Baldwin and Emily Ratajkowski, many of whom did not initially disclose they had been paid to do so. During the Fyre Festival's inaugural weekend, the event experienced problems related to security, food, accommodation, medical services and artist relations, resulting in the festival being postponed indefinitely, and eventually cancelled. Instead of the luxury villas and gourmet meals for which festival attendees paid hundreds of dollars, they received pre-packaged sandwiches and FEMA tents as their accommodation. In March 2018, McFarland pleaded guilty to one count of wire fraud to defraud investors and ticket holders, and a second count to defraud a ticket vendor that occurred while out on bail. In October 2018, McFarland was sentenced to 6 years in prison and ordered to forfeit $26 million. The organizers became the subject of at least 8 lawsuits, several seeking class action status, and one seeking more than $100 million in damages. The cases accuse the organizers of defrauding ticket buyers. 2 documentaries about the events of the festival were released in 2019, Hulu's Fyre Fraud, and Netflix's Fyre, The Greatest Party That Never Happened. It was also featured on an episode of the CNBC series American Greed in 2019. Planning and organization. The festival was organized by Billy McFarland and Ja Rule, to promote the Fyre music booking app. Ja Rule had come to know McFarland through regular visits to events McFarland hosted at his previous venture, Magnesis. During a flight to the Bahamas, McFarland and Ja Rule's private plane touched down on a lightly populated island which they later discovered was Norman's Cay, the former private island of Carlos Leder Rivas, a kingpin of the Medellin cartel. McFarland then leased the island from the current owners, with the owners giving the strict condition that McFarland make no reference to Pablo Escobar, leader of the Medellin cartel, in any marketing materials. Promotional footage with hired supermodels was shot on Norman's Cay, and planning for the festival went ahead. On December 12, 2016, Kendall Jenner, Emily Ratajkowski and other influencers paid by Fyre simultaneously posted to their Instagram feeds a video with a thumbnail consisting of an orange square and a logo made of stylized flames. The video showed Bella Hadid and other models represented by her agency running around a tropical beach. Text with the video promised an immersive music festival. 2 transformative weekends. On the boundaries of the impossible. This was the beginning of the Fyre Festival's promotional campaign, during which McFarland himself claimed that the island had been owned by Pablo Escobar. The owners cancelled their arrangement with McFarland soon after. In reality, Pablo Escobar never owned Norman's Cay. When they were kicked off of Norman's Cay, they only had 4 months before their inaugural festival on April 28–30th. After several small islands that seemed like likely venues were turned down, and with only 2 months to go before the Fyre Festival, the Bahamian government gave McFarland a permit to use a site set aside for development at Roker Point 23. 6,350 degrees north 75. 9,188 degrees west, 23. 6,350. -75. 9,188 on Great Exuma, just north of the Sandals Resort. Material released on social media continued to promote the falsehood that the festival was being hosted on Pablo Escobar's private island, with maps of the site altered to make it appear as if Roker Point was an island unto itself. In reality, the festival was in a remote parking lot north of a Sandals resort and a nearby marina where locals' boats were stored. Furthermore, Great Exuma was not a private or remote island. Instead, the festival was scheduled to take place in an abandoned resort development. McFarland never announced the change. He just simply renamed the island Fyre Cay. With no infrastructure and no villas, the team had just under 2 months to turn Roker Point into Fyre Cay. An investor, fashion executive Carola Jane, reportedly arranged for Fyre to receive a $4 million loan, most of which was spent renting luxurious offices in Manhattan's Tribeca neighborhood. With no experience staging an event of the proposed festival's scale, McFarland began approaching companies that did, and was reportedly taken aback when informed the event would cost at least $50 million to stage in the time available as he had promised. Furthermore, the more experienced consultants told them that in addition to the cost, an event of this magnitude would have needed an extra year to plan. He and his associates at Fyre believed it would cost far less and continued with their plans under that assumption. The organizers tried to do things themselves where possible. McFarland supposedly learned how to rent the stage by doing a Google search. In the days leading up to the festival, they cut expenses extensively, having learned that the luxury villas were going to cost $10 million alone, and targeted deposits for the bands, food, infrastructure and staff. Scheduled for 2 weekends in April and May 2017, the event sold day tickets from $500 US to $1,500 US, and VIP packages including airfare and luxury tent accommodation for $12,000 US. Customers were promised accommodation in modern, eco-friendly, geodesic domes and meals from celebrity chefs. The final advertised lineup was for 33 artists, including Pusha T, Tyga, Dessa Eigner, Blink-182, Major Lazer, Disclosure, Migos, Ray Shrimmered, Kaytranada, Lil Yachty, Matoma, Klingande, Skepta, Claptone, La Youth, Ten Snake, Blonde, Ish, and Lee Borage. In the days leading up to the festival, all of the aforementioned acts pulled out, with Major Lazer never confirming their attendance despite being advertised. To make matters worse, organizers of the Fyre Festival planned their first event for April 28–30, the same weekend as the Exuma Regatta, a Bahamian sailing race series that utilized most of the island's hotels, vacation rentals and resources. While the festival's promotional material kept claiming that the festival would be held on a remote private island that once belonged to drug trafficker Pablo Escobar, workers were busy preparing Roker Point for the festival, scattering sand over its rocks and improving a road to a nearby beach, where they built some cabanas and installed swing seats. On the mainland, 5,000 tickets had been sold, and an air service was hired to charter festival goers from Miami. A medical services company and caterer were also hired, but the latter withdrew a few weeks before the festival. With only 2 weeks to go, a new catering service with a $1 million total budget was hired, drastically reduced from the $6 million originally allocated to provide for what was promised as uniquely authentic island cuisine. Local seafood, Bahamian-style sushi and even a pig roast. In March 2017, Fyre also hired a veteran event producer, Yaron Levy, who saw that it was impossible to hold the sort of event McFarland and Ja Rule envisioned at the site. He assumed they would postpone the event to November as they had been discussing since they were not ready. However, when Fyre told him they would stage the event in the spring anyway, Levy told them to abandon plans for temporary villas and instead erect tents, the only accommodation that could be delivered in the time remaining. Levy advised Fyre to make this clear to those who had already bought tickets, as otherwise it would be damaging to their brand. He says the company assured him that an email was being prepared, but he was not sure if it was sent. Comcast Ventures considered investing $25 million in the Fyre app, which McFarland apparently hoped would allow him to finance the festival, but declined days beforehand. Reportedly, McFarland had valued Fyre Media at $90 million but was unable to provide sufficient proof of that when Comcast requested it. Writing for New York Magazine, one of the event organizers later noted that since at least mid-March there were significant problems with the planning, and at one point it was suggested they reschedule the 2017 festival until 2018. These plans, however, were revoked at the last minute with the decision to go on with the event as planned. "Let's just do it and be legends, man," one of the organizers is reported to have said. Later that month, Page Six began reporting rumors that the festival organizers were too disorganized and in over their heads.